Okay, it's 7 p.m. We'll start our first public hearing here. Bob, read the notice.
Sure. Please take notice an application has been made by Bob Cook of Cook's Dairy, Caledonia, Minnesota, for conditional use permit to expand the feedlot from 482 animal units to 700. The facility will consist of various loafing barns, freestyle barns, calf barns, etc., few calf hutches, all in Winnebago Township. Said applicant standing and making applications of fee owner of said described land. A hearing on this application will be held at the Historic Courthouse, Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921 at 7 p.m. Thursday, November 20th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to be heard relative to the granting or denying the said application. Houston County Planning Commission by Bob Scanlon, advertised November 5th, 2014. Just kind of give you a brief update here. As you recall, last summer, Cooks were in to expand this same feedlot up to 482 animal units. It was approved by the county board that same month. Since that time, Bob and the family have decided that future plans will necessitate the idea of adding an additional heifer barn to that site. And it would go up, be an increase of 218 animal units, or about 311 heifers in that new barn if it's built. So, updated manure management plan will need to be submitted to account for the additional heifers, although he's got an existing manure management plan on the site that shows about 683 acres, for that 700 acre or 700 animal unit facility. He's got a separate manure management plan for the dairy. Those are separate acres from the manure management plan for the heifer site. There's almost 1,300 acres dedicated to the dairy site, and like I said, 683 acres dedicated to this heifer site for 700 animal units. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Bob, do you have any more comments to add?
Don't get in trouble.
Okay, any questions from the commission members?
Hear anything from neighbors or anybody or town boards or?
Had recall from one neighbor, Thor Colley, there that didn't have a problem with the expansion.
Okay.
Is this all manure pack? This is dry manure, pretty much? You don't need a pit or anything like that?
Well, if we do another one, this last barn, when I built it, we have another one, it's just for the dry cows, and it worked out really nice. It's a 4-row and they could eat outside, but it's not near as big as the one that we're in the process of building now. And I got looking at it, if they're going to eat outside, it'd be if we got a heavy rain. So we changed it from a 4-row barn to a 3-row barn. That's why we had to add on 120 feet.
Okay.
And then we put in 3 20,000-gallon manure pits because we didn't have time to get a permit to put a bigger one in. But if we ever do, I don't know if we'll ever do another one, but if we did, it would be up on top of the hill and then get a permit, put in a bigger manure pit, like that. One reason too for this is that, well, because of my son and daughter will be coming in there, Tony is there now, my daughter will be. But Tony mentioned one time our calving barn, well, I couldn't even get insurance, I couldn't get insurance on it there that one time. It's not too good a shape. And someday we may have to change that around. The numbers won't change a lot on the calving cows, but it's just so much easier to, if we have a permanent place, to get things done.
Yeah, yeah.
And then too, like Mr. Cruz said the last time I was in here, it's kind of nice to get some of those heifers home that we're running up and down the road all the time, and fuel and tires and time and ice and everything else.
Yeah. So most of what's coming out of here is dry manure then? Would be manure pack or would it?
Well, freestyle barn would be.
Oh, freestyle would be,
But,
okay.
but this isn't, for heifers and stuff, it's not quite like dairy. it's not as liquefied, you know, but it's still a slurry type there.
Yeah.
It's not impact,
Yeah.
The idea is to make things more efficient. Bring cattle from various rented farms back onto the site,
Yeah.
make it more efficient, less traffic on the roads.
Any questions from the board? Okay, is there anyone here that wishes to comment on this application?
Does he need an updated manure plan then, Bob, or?
Yeah, if he, adds this extra barn, he's got a manure management plan for
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
proposed last July. But it wouldn't take much to add this extra barn. Like I said, they got enough acres,
Yeah,
so,
I understand that.
yeah.
Okay.
That manure plan, that'll be kind of done before the board, county board actually makes final decision, right?
No, they're working on it. No, it's not done. He's not even sure if they're gonna build this next barn. They're
Oh.
just planning for it.
Okay,
But part of that plan is to ensure he's got enough acres, which he does. And those acres, and I've asked Bob to do this, separate from the dairy site. He's got separate acres for that manure, and he's got separate acres for this heifer site.
okay.
And so you can determine whether there's enough acres there pretty easily just by looking at that. He's got maps of each field, which fields are dedicated to which farm, and things like that. So, like I said, it wouldn't be hard to develop a plan.
We got soil samples from all those fields too, don't
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
That guy from Iowa.
He just sent me the updated ones yesterday again. So, yep, aerial maps and soil samples dedicated where he pulled the samples off the field. It's a pretty good plan. So.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
Are you kind of getting everything brought back to these sites now, or you got animals at different places yet?
Yeah, well, no, we got cattle on 8 different farms, that's why it's all this farm. We ended up, we did rent Gary Privet's up there, I tried to rent a couple of years ago, and he's gonna put beef cattle in, and then he changed his mind. We just put cattle there the other day because we had too many at Brooks and Guard Farm. I kinda wanna get out of there because the driveway is like that. A couple of years ago, I was driving in there and I thought, oh no, I shouldn't have did this, and I was facing east, I was driving east with TMR, and by the time pretty soon I was facing Caledonia, I was going north, and I just slid sideways down, took out a fence and a guide wire on a highline pole, and the stuff going, we have to go through the field all the time now, and it's kind of hard going over there. Things are kept up, you know, with stuff, so. But we'll have a lot of, we'll have enough room now for everything, just with the existing barn, the barn that we're putting up now, along with Gary's. You know, we're gonna stay like that for now. you know. I was just thinking, like I said, down the road, you know, if there is something, you know.
Yeah, the Privet, that's a pretty new barn, pretty nice.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice.
I mean,
What is it, probably 10 years old. Yeah. It's a drive-through. It's a nice
Yeah,
barn.
that'll be nice for you.
Yeah, and Gary's so good to work with too, you know, you just couldn't walk away from it, it's just one of those things. It's probably how many miles, 20?
It's 20 minutes in the tractor, I think, 4 miles.
It'll still improve everything a lot, or
Yeah.
the efficiency.
That's the other thing, all those cattle, he's taking all that manure, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
We just put 96 big heifers up there, and he's handling all the manure in the sand and pushing up feed and stuff, and he's keeping the manure for his farm. We don't even touch it up there, those 96. That's kinda nice, you know, what we do is go feed them,
Yep.
and watch them and stuff.
Okay, any other comments? If there are no other comments, Bob, will you read the findings?
The planning commission shall not recommend a conditional use permit unless they find the following. 1, does the proposed use conform to the county land use plan? 2, does the applicant demonstrate a need for the proposed use? 3, will the proposed use degrade the water quality of the county? 4, will the proposed use adversely increase the quantity of water runoff? 5, are soil conditions adequate to accommodate the proposed use? 6, have potential pollution hazards been addressed and have standards been met? 7, are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities being provided? 8, are adequate measures being taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use? 9, are facilities being provided to eliminate any traffic congestion or traffic hazard which may result from the proposed use? 10, will the conditional use be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted? 11, does the establishment of the conditional use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area? 12, are adequate measures being taken to prevent and control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration, so that none of these will constitute a nuisance to control lighted signs and other lights in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result? 13 and 14 are not applicable. 15 are site-specific conditions and such other conditions established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
Okay, are there any comments on the findings?
Mr. Chairman, I don't see no problem with the findings. I make a motion and recommend to the county board that we approve this application.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the application. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Rich seconds it. Okay, we have a motion made to recommend the approval of this application. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One thing probably should be amended on there, that the manure plan is to, if this thing gets built,
Yeah, that'll be a
all
condition.
local, state, and
That's
federal
part of the
permits.
permit, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, part of his feedlot permit requirement. Yeah. So that'll go to the county board December 2nd for final approval. Thank you, Bob.
Bye-bye.
This isn't church, Mark. This isn't church.
Actually, you know, call him up there.
Yeah, why don't you come up, Mark?
Oh, you should really be on. I think that was probably where that one was sitting.
You did the hammer seat here?
Yep, right there. It'll be good. We got 2 minutes yet before we start. According to that clock.
Really? You
Yeah.
mean it's a scheduled deal?
Yeah.
You got any coffee or anything, Greg?
Should have.
Do the nuts or the zoning permits.
Well, I think we're close enough if you're ready to go, Mark. I'm going to recuse myself from this public hearing because Mark and I work together on a manure plan. I'll stay here, but I'm not going to be part of this. So, I mean, I'll run the meeting, but I won't vote or comment. So, Bob, would you go ahead and read the...
Sure. Please take notice, application has been made by Mark and Diane Gerard, Spring Grove, Minnesota, for conditional use permit to build concrete manure storage, size being 132 by 184 by 8 feet deep, with a capacity of 1.4 million gallons in Wilmington Township, in section 29. Said applicant standing and making the application are the fee owners of said described land. Hearing on this application will be held at the Historic Courthouse Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, Minnesota, at 7:15, Thursday, November 20th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to be heard relative to the granting or denying of said application. Houston County Planning Commission by Bob Scanlon, advertised November 5th, 2014.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, as I said, the size there, 132 by 184 by 8 feet deep, and if you can see that on the aerial photo, designated just to the northeast of the buildings. Reason it'd be located there, being proposed, is so that, you know, of course, it's handy to scrape out of the freestyle barns into that. Just makes sense to put it there. There were soil borings done on the site, and he's got a complete engineered design put together by Jason Rochester and Pete Fryer from the Southeast Soil and Water Conservation District technical support of the Joint Powers Board. Pete Fryer is the engineer on the project and put together a plan here that meets all NRCS and county and state feedlot rules. Like I said, it's a concrete basin, met setbacks from sinkholes, like I said, met the separation distance to bedrock, those types of things. The bottom of the pit would be anywhere from 6.5 feet to almost 20 feet from the closest shelf of bedrock. Looks like a good project. Like I said, it's engineered and meets the standards. So.
Okay, Mark, you got any comments? Mike? Okay. Any questions?
Well, other than that, it'll be banked with, there'll be dirt clear to the wall, clear to the top.
On the outside.
Yeah, we've got enough dirt to bank it all the way around, so it won't be any part of it freestanding. Is that which way you could put it?
Yeah.
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 Was it about 9 months storage or what? That comes out to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How many animal units are you going to put it, use for this pit?
The one,
He's just shy of 300. It's designed to hold 300 animal units worth for 9 months, but he's just shy of that on the place. So, yeah, not proposing to expand the numbers at all.
I think these things, these manure pit things are a good thing because it keeps the storage and you have a lot less waste on the road or problems with going on the road when it's muddy or whatever, and then I applaud you guys for doing it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Any other comments or questions to Mark? Oh, you don't have a very big audience, Mark, out behind you.
You must get along fairly well with your neighbors.
Give them all shit.
Give them a lot more now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we'll read the findings, Bob.
All right. Planning Commission shall not recommend a conditional use permit unless they find the following. 1, does the proposed use conform to the county land use plan? 2, does the applicant demonstrate a need for the proposed use? 3, will the proposed use degrade the water quality of the county? 4, will the proposed use adversely increase the quantity of water runoff? 5, are soil conditions adequate to accommodate the proposed use? 6, have potential pollution hazards been addressed and have standards been met? 7, are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities being provided? 8, are adequate measures being taken to provide sufficient off-street parking, loading space to serve the proposed use? 9, are facilities being provided to eliminate any traffic congestion or traffic hazard which may result from the proposed use? 10, will the conditional use be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted? 11, does the establishment of the conditional use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area? 12, are adequate measures being taken to prevent and control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration so that none of these will constitute a nuisance, and to control lighted signs and other lights in such manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result? 13 and 14 are not applicable. 15 are site-specific conditions and such other conditions established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on the findings?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve this conditional use permit with all local, state, and federal permits and be recommended to the county board.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend this application be approved, subject to all state and federal regulations.
I'll second
I have
that.
a second from Terry. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That'll go to the county board then on December 2nd for final approval.
Okay?
And then, once that's done, I'll finish up, I think, the feedlot permit, get that going for you over this winter here. And
Okay.
by next spring, you should be good to go.
All right.
All right?
Okay.
Mark.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, we have a few minutes before our next meeting. Let's see. We're at 7:30, so we got, everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting? Anybody have any questions or comments on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, Terry, is there a second to approve the minutes?
I'll second the motion.
By Glenn. All right, a motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we can take a look at the zoning permits, if you guys like. Any questions on the zoning permits, anyone? This, these houses are built on just existing homes changing, or like Cronabush?
Yeah, that's replacing a house and, Ron's, yeah, Ron is replacing a house that burned down, actually.
Oh, Ron's,
Kirby
okay,
Ron's,
yeah, yeah.
Chromebush is the old,
Richards up on
Richards Farm.
Hillside Road above, Reno, Crooked Creek Township.
Okay. Okay, entertain a motion to approve the zoning permits, if no one has any more questions.
So move.
Terry, is there a seconded?
Second.
Rich, seconded. Motion made and seconded to approve the zoning permits. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a few minutes here about what you handed out here on Travis Inky?
Oh, sure.
yeah,
Travis Zinke has returned his yearly renewal for substantial land alteration in Polka Township. That was originally issued back in 2006, I believe. And that's right there between Hoka and Miller's Corner off of 16, south side of the highway. And what he does there is he created some wildlife ponds and pushed up some topsoil, and he sells topsoil from the bottoms there, so,
This is below the road?
yeah. Yeah,
South side of the road there.
so he's
I don't think
looking-
he's dried up Miller's Pond yet.
No, I hadn't seen, it's just see two geese there.
There was a concern about that.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
No, it's, and he's created some, wildlife ponds
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Good deal. That's pretty weedy, because I've gotten some of that topsoil.
Yeah, okay. A lot of organic matter then.
So this is not for what's above the road?
No,
No.
that, because what you're thinking of is actually in the Crescent Township.
That's
Okay.
the Crescent Township.
Okay.
This is
over there.
below the road.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve renewal of the permit.
I second it.
Okay, motion made by Terry and seconded by Charlie, right? Yep. To approve the renewal of Travis Zinke's conditional use permit. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
You didn't drive all the bullheads away, did you, Terry?
Bullheads? I don't know if there's any left down there.
Well, that's what I was wondering, he didn't do that.
There used to be quite a few bullheads down there.
Yeah.
You know, tell him so. I mentioned it. Cost too much money. Yeah, but hands are tied on a lot of them. Interesting.
Okay, I think it's close enough to 7:30. We'll start our next public hearing. Bob, would you read the notice?
Yep, please take notice, an application has been made by Randy Klinsky of Caledonia, Minnesota for a conditional use permit to leave fill in a floodplain in Caledonia Township, on Lot 1, Block 1 of Green Acres, 3rd Edition. Said applicant standing making application is a fee owner, said described land. Hearing on this application will be held at the Historic Courthouse Commission, Room City, Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921 at 7:30 on Thursday, November 20th, 2014. All persons having interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to be heard relative to the granting or denying of said application. Houston County Planning Commission by Bob Scanlon, zoning administrator, advertised November 5th, 2014. Just a brief update there. catch you up to speed. The former owner of this property deposited fill in this, on this lot in the floodplain. That former owner also rezoned it from an R1 to B1, residential to highway business. The original plat that was approved by the board displayed the 100-year floodplain right on that original plat for the Green Acre subdivision. Mr. Klinsky's ultimate goal here is to build a shed on the site, and in order to get that started, this was kind of the first step. When he approached me on what his future plans are for the site, that's when I took a hard look at the site and determined that there was in fact fill material in the floodplain. We had known, I guess, over the years that material had been deposited here and there. We never received a complaint on it, and we've never were made aware of the actual amounts that were deposited within that lot until I met with Mr. Klinsky. So, in order to submit a complete application, I asked Randy Klinsky to a couple of things. One, to get a determination from DNR as to what the impact of adding the material to this area would have on neighboring properties. And that's shown in this complete application he submitted. You know, you guys got all this stuff, didn't you? Maps and everything. Salam Murtada was the DNR hydrologist that did the determination on the floodplain, and it sent a depiction here on this map that shows the red shaded areas show where the new 100-year floodplain is in relation to such things as neighboring buildings, Green Acres Road, and so forth. Since the application was submitted, we did receive additional information and letters from Caledonia Township, the Soil and Water Conservation District, and the county engineer, and also Mr. Klinsky. So, have you guys had a chance to look at those letters? Most of them were submitted in the last week or two. I guess the one thing that Caledonia is requesting is that since they didn't have a chance to review this application during the regular scheduled monthly meeting, they couldn't come tonight and voice their opinion. But if it comes to that point, they would request possibly tabling it to discuss it with their board. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Klinsky, are you here? Yeah, you want to step up here? Yeah, you come up here. Okay, you're Randy. Yeah, you can sit down there. Randy, so how much fill has been put in there? Do you know, roughly?
I have no idea, really. I know where the old floodplain line is, and, you know, the elevation that's there now. I have no idea what the old elevation was.
Is that showing on the...
Yeah, it's on the original plat. Yeah. It's on, I think it's on this one here. It ran about through the center of that lot, pretty close, or something like that, so. Let's see what-
Okay.
Yeah, the floodplain did, and that elevation got brought up, so it's level with what's out of the floodplain. But what the old elevation was under that fill, I don't know. Lenny Ransenberger, that's lived out there for years, said it was higher there, that they used to have like a community brush burn pile out there.
So how much material would you estimate that, now the former owner put all this in there?
Correct, yeah, so I have no idea.
So I wonder, like, if you were to go back to the original plat, how much material would have to be moved out of there? I wonder how much he put in there, do you know?
I have
No
no
idea.
idea.
But what you're saying is that the way the new floodplain is drawn out now, that the floodplain goes over the road, is that what you're showing?
Yeah, that's what was determined by DNR. Everything in red here shows that the floodplain. So you can see Green Acres Road right here. So the red, yeah, it goes
And
across
the road wasn't in the original floodplain?
Right.
So which road are you talking about, Bob?
Green Acres Road.
Oh, the Green Acres Road?
Yeah, kinda
It was up above my lot, it was, let me grab, I found another map here.
So does this area represent where the fill was put in?
Mhm.
So, I mean, was the floodplain up here? Originally?
This is the original,
Oh, that's the original
this is
map.
the original, this is Green Acres Road.
Okay.
That's Phillips Drive. So see up above Phillips Drive, the road is underwater. And according to the DNR, in a 100-year flood, the culvert under Highway 44 will not take a 100-year flood, that Highway 44 will be underwater. Now, all of that water will come down on the east side of 44, so that'll actually be coming down in the ditch on this side of Green Acres Road.
Okay, is this whiteout area, that's how much area was filled in?
Yeah, that's the
Approximately, yep.
Wow, that's gonna be a lot of yards there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How long did that transpire? Was he doing that? He didn't own the property that long, did he?
Who, Randy?
Yeah.
Well, the former owner did. Is that when he bought it?
Yeah.
All three?
I bought it last fall.
Yeah, so in about 10 years.
But in investigating this, I guess, you know, I don't know that much about elevations and models, but the DNR says that the culverts under Phillips Drive will not take a 100-year flood, nor will the one under Highway 44. But yet, if you go to the MnDOT website, it says any structure over 48 inches in diameter has to beat a 100-year flood. So the culvert under 44 is like 6 foot by 8 foot. And they replaced a lot of them 2 years ago when they redid Highway 44. They did not replace that one. Now, a 100-year flood constitutes 6 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, which I think everybody here knows. We've had 3 of those in the last 7 years, and that fill's been in there.
But the water, even if it didn't come through the culvert, it'd still come over the highway and still come down into this area.
It hasn't in the rains that we've had in the last 7
I mean,
years.
it backed up on the other side of Highway 44?
It has backed up some, but it's never overtopped 44 to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, any questions from the,
I know it's backed up into, well, it's Allen's Field now.
Correct, yeah.
I got a question.
yeah,
The area we're talking about, is it a floodway or a flood fringe?
Well, part of it's floodway.
Is it part of the floodway that's filled, or is it flood fringe, Bob? I mean, there's a difference between that,
Right.
follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it, yeah, but I mean, it says floodplain, it doesn't say if it's floodway, or
Well, I guess I can't say the floodway was filled.
the floodway where the current goes,
Right,
you
but
follow what
the
I'm saying?
floodplain
And the
was
flood
filled.
fringe is where it backs up to.
Right. Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of difference there.
Right. That's the,
And that, did he fill, is the floodway filled?
I couldn't determine that.
I mean, can that be determined? So
I would
can-
imagine. But,
Because I think that'll make the important part of our decision.
right,
Because you read the letter here from the Soil Water Conservation, they say, you know, it's okay for, you know, if you fill a flood fringe, but, you know, development of flood fringe, it's possible, but a floodway is all, you know, it's altogether different.
right. But there, you know, the letter also talks further about impacting neighboring properties. too.
Right.
Yeah, whether it's floodway, flood fringe, or whatever, so.
Yeah, and I tried to find online, but I couldn't what according to the DNR, there's, in a major flood, there would be 2,200 cubic feet per second going down that waterway. And they say that the two 4x12 culverts under Phillips Drive will not take that much water. But the waterway that's north of my lot is approximately 70 foot wide at the bottom and really slow tapers towards the top. So I'm sure that'll take, 20 times, 40 times what the culverts will.
Any other comments, questions?
Caledonia Township, right? Their request to table was just so they could study this and get more information?
Yeah,
Or
if
did they have,
You wanna discuss it at the meeting?
they'd like to discuss it as a board, and we received a letter from Kermit McCray, Township Supervisor, saying if need be, to go ahead and table it so that they could review it closer with their board and respond to the application as a board.
which is kind of what Brian said too, table or deny?
Yeah.
Okay, any other, otherwise I'm going to see if anyone in the audience wants to comment. Is there any other comment among commission members? Okay, is there anyone here who would like to comment on this application? Okay, I think that, the impact that this might have on the neighbors, we really need to study this. I know you may not be available next month, but I don't think we're in a position, my opinion, we're not in a position to say yes or no on this, maybe till we look at it closer. Because the problem is, you know very well, if you fill in a floodplain, it affects the neighbors. The water's gonna back up somewhere.
Correct,
And
yeah,
if you fill it in, somebody else fills in theirs, where do you stop?
Correct, but what's backing the water up to Phillips Drive, it's not the fill in the lot.
It will come over Phillips Drive, would it not or not? See, that's something, I don't know, do we need to go
It's
look at that or what?
Yeah, a 100-year flood is expected to go over top of them culverts if they can't hold it, so, yeah.
But it would probably go around your fill up onto somebody else's property. I suspect. Which, there was original plat on the property, and everybody moved in there accepting that plat, and the floodplain being where it is. And then if somebody starts filling in an area, it's really not fair to the other landowners, in my opinion. Because, obviously, the floodplain has changed. And other people now will be getting some property flooded. I don't know what's over there on that side of the road.
I'm sure all the neighbors have been notified on this, haven't they,
Yeah.
Bob?
Yep.
Yeah. You have heard any negative? If there was some negatives, I would think they would have been here. If it was affected them, I would think.
Right, yeah, we didn't hear anything
Yeah,
except.
I would think it'd be affected, if there was an affection to the.
Oh, I guess there was
One
one call,
phone
yeah.
call Of the Phillip Drive neighbor.
You said you wouldn't be available next month?
No, if you need to table it, I'd sure appreciate it if you could table till January.
Well,
Do you just
it
meet
has
one-
to be within 120 days, I wonder when the application.
Do you meet just once a month, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, are you available at all in December? It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
that
any
Thursday.
other day,
we could-
probably.
You can change it to a different day, Bob, too. It don't make any difference to his schedule.
So, would that be-
Does it matter to you if it's
No.
December or January, or not?
No, it doesn't matter to me, it's just December 18th, I'm unavailable.
January,
Yeah, go to
Well,
January.
we'll have to extend the 60-day rule, an additional 60 days, which, that's fine, because we've got adequate means to do so, to look for additional information, one from the township,
Yeah,
input from them.
that's what they're requesting, so we should honor their request.
So, yeah, we could meet a regular scheduled meeting in January if you'd like, or before that. So,
Is that all right with you if we
There's gonna be new people.
look into this
Just make a
until,
motion to table it.
and make a decision in January on it?
Yep.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion to table it?
I make a motion to table it till, our January meeting.
All right, do we need to go out there though and look at it ourselves?
I think we should.
I'm not familiar with it.
You want to go out there? Do you think it's a good idea? I mean, so we know what we're voting on? No, we can actually see, we should look at the original plat, we should see where the original floodplain was, we should see
It
where it is now, we
Wouldn't
should
hurt to
see.
take a look at it so we
Right.
know what we're talking about.
So do you want to do that prior to the, our January meeting then?
Yeah, it makes sense,
Yeah, before we get too much snow.
Yeah, the best would be before we get any more
Okay.
snowfall.
right,
Maybe you want
I'd
to
sure
do it?
appreciate the opportunity to go with too.
sure.
Let's see, how are we gonna do this? He won't be here the 18th, we'll be getting together again on the 18th, but
You could go view the site sooner.
Yeah, you can check, we can see. Would you be around about, well, we'd have to advertise it again. Second week in December, would you be around at all, or?
Yeah, I should be, yep.
Okay.
that may not weather-wise be any better.
No, but that's the soonest we could do
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
because it'd be a public meeting yet.
yeah. Oh, to go out there,
Yeah, there's a quorum.
okay.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really helpful. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the terrain, you can see where
Yeah.
the water's gonna
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you think we could change the meeting to move up? No? Yes?
Well, the deadline.
Oh, be a
no,
separate
I-
meeting, be a
yeah.
separate,
Yeah,
be a
be
separate,
separate
separate
public
meeting.
hearing-
Separate
hearing.
public meeting.
In January, yeah, but the site does it prior to that, or, December, as soon as
Would be a
possible.
public meeting also.
Yeah.
I'd have to
It'd
look
have
at the
to.
timeline. I don't have a calendar right
Okay.
Um,
All right, I tell you what, we will come out to look at it. We'll have to get in touch with you when we'll come. But first of all, is this what the commission wants to do? Does someone want to make a motion that we table this? Or Terry, you did? Is that? you
Yeah,
want-
I'll make a
Is there a
motion.
second to
I'll
that?
second that.
Okay, Rick seconded. So we have a motion here to table this and make a decision at the January meeting.
Correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we will make a decision on the January meeting, but we will be out to visit the site prior to that, possibly the second week. Well, we'll look
Yeah.
at the calendar, but we'll contact you.
I'll send some dates and times, or give you a
And
call
see-
and see what works for you.
If we come out, it's a public deal, so
Yep.
it has to be,
Yep.
would it have to be notified in the paper?
Yep.
Yeah, it'll have to be noticed
in
in
the paper. It's-
paper.
It's
Yeah.
the rigmarole, but we have to do it.
Have to do it
Yeah.
that way.
No, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
think it'll really help.
Yeah,
Could we try to get the, Caledonia Township at the site when we go there? I mean,
now.
Yeah, I
They'll
think
get
they will.
notified.
yeah.
hopefully
if
somebody.
Yeah.
And as long
And one
as
of their-
They meet next
Have
week,
one of their guys
next
with her?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, if they ask to table it, it'd be nice
Okay,
It's their roads through there anyway,
if you come.
so
Yeah.
they definitely,
They meet
Should have
next
input.
week, so, yeah, they'd have time to discuss that at their monthly meeting and then come out and show
Okay.
them. Here's the site.
okay, very good.
Thank you, Randy.
We
Okay,
will-
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, you bet. Okay, our next public hearing is scheduled for 7:45. We're there, so, or more. So Bob, would you read the notice? It's
Please take notice, an application was made by Herman Gady, County 21, La Crescent, for an interim use permit for a temporary farm dwelling for a manufactured home in an ag protection district in Mount Prairie Township, Section 26. Said applicant standing and making application as a fee owner of said described lands. A hearing on this application will be held at the Historic Courthouse Commissioners Room, City of Caledonia, Minnesota, 55921 at 7:45, Thursday, November 20th. All persons having an interest in the matter will be given the opportunity to be heard relative to the granting or denying of said application. Houston County Planning Commission by Bob Scanlon, advertised November 5th, 2014. As I mentioned, this is an application for a temporary farm dwelling. And as you recall, couple of stipulations that go with these dwellings are set forth in the ordinance. One, that the home being proposed is a manufactured home. Two, that the person living there is helping out on the farm. And three, that it's located on the same premises as the farm operation. In addition, there's conditions there that if the farming operation ceases, then the mobile home or manufactured home is removed from the site. Or if the property is sold, or, like I said, farm operation is discontinued, then the mobile home or manufactured home there again is required to be removed from the site within 6 months. So I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Gady, you here, Herman Gady? Yeah, so you want to come up? Okay, do you have anything to add to what Bob said?
No, pretty well covered.
So this is, who's moving in here?
My daughter,
Your daughter.
yeah, and her boyfriend, fiance,
And you're farming there,
yeah.
yeah.
Our house burned New Year's Eve, and basically they were down at our place about every day helping us rebuild. And then through the summer months, pretty much he was there helping me with the cattle and the fencing and stuff that I just can't do all of it no more.
So you got your house rebuilt? You got,
We're getting pretty close. It's been a long struggle, but we're getting pretty close. It's been a very trying situation. I don't wish it on nobody.
so when you put this manufactured home in over here, are you, how do you get water and sewer and all that?
Well, the sewer system, we've got basically all the program and stuff. Mr. Frauenkron came and laid up all the schematics of what they need to do as far as a holding tank and stuff like that. And it did approve an in-ground system, will work there. But their thought was, being it's getting so close to winter, as we all know, was just to put a holding tank in for now, and then, like in the spring, put the rest of the system in.
How about water? How do you get water?
Well, we're kind of planning, we got two different bids from two different outfits. Mr. Frauenkron put one in, as far as for putting a well there. And then I had another guy, Tim Cirrus, from down in Brownsville. He has a guy that he's been working with that's about half the price, that'll come and he just does the well, he does the drilling, and then Tim takes it from there. So it gets a lot more economical by going that route.
But what you're applying for here is temporary.
Yeah, yeah.
If you drill the well and put in a whole septic system, sounds kind of permanent.
Well,
You can't put, well, it's up to you wherever you want to put it, whatever you want to
Yeah,
spend, but,
yeah.
But it's not near your building site, I see.
no.
Any questions in the commission?
Is that, but, the septic, you're talking about a holding tank, but adding the drain field later?
Yeah,
So
he said, yeah.
Basically, you're saying you're gonna put the septic tank in,
Yeah.
and use it as a holding tank
Yeah.
until the drain field?
Yeah, he said he'd put which they do, I think anyhow nowadays, is they put like an alarm system and with the light and all that on there. So he said you'll have plenty of time to know to get a hold of somebody to pump it. And then in the spring when they come, they'll uncap that and then go on. But they'll leave the alarm system and everything there intact. So if there's a problem, they'll know it.
And you have the permit, Bob, soil borings, all
Yeah,
that?
Byron Frauenkron did the design. I was out there when he did the soil borings, and it is pretty sandy soil,
Okay.
so it perks real good.
So there's room in that area there for
Yep.
the septic and the well and
Mhm.
all that setbacks and all
Yep.
that stuff?
In-ground
Okay.
system and
All
plenty
right.
of separation for the well.
Is that a separate court report?
No. I believe there's a house in that quarter. Not sure, I guess. But, there's no requirement for,
Yeah, from
Yeah,
that, yeah.
because it's
manufacturer,
temporary,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it's a trailer home, manufactured home?
Yeah,
or
it's a double wide, yes,
Double wide trailer home,
yeah.
yeah. Any other questions? You're gonna have to bring electricity there too then, separate
Yeah,
service?
yeah,
So you got
yeah.
service and a well and
Yeah,
septic
yeah,
system?
I had talked to this one gal over at Tri-County, and they'll have to put one pole in to get from where the power is now. She said they'd have to do one pole, and they're like 140 feet from where their electricity is right now. So it's pretty basic.
Okay, any other questions okay, is there anyone here that wishes to speak regarding this application? Okay, we'll go one at a time here. All right, you go ahead first, sir. Stand up and identify yourself.
Yeah,
And
state your name and,
Hi, my name is Brett Osterly. I share interest in that farm. That was my grandfather's farm. And I don't want this to happen for the mere reason is Bob nailed it right on the head. It is real sandy soil there. And once you start scraping that sand away, it's going to push away. And it's a very steep hill where they want to put the house at. It's a very steep grade. I know I talked to Bob. He said that they're going to do soil erosion or for erosion plan and everything else. But I know from the backside of the hill, you move the sand around and it just keeps washing down. So I oppose it, and I personally don't want the property getting defaced. That's all I've got.
so what's the elevation there, where that proposed site is? I mean, is that a steep
It-
elevate? Or what?
No, it's going almost on a level spot.
yeah, it's not too bad.
You seen the spot, didn't you, Bob?
Yeah.
Where the house is going? It's just about level.
Yeah, I'd say it's 10 to 12% slope. You know, you can go up to 24%, but,
Is that gonna be on a temporary foundation, or?
Yeah, it'll end up,
So as far as disturbing any ground, there isn't
No.
gonna be any ground
No.
disturbed, is there?
no.
Speak up.
Like when we did ours, we ended up in a double wide, and all we did was put down them silo tubes. And just basically,
Level up.
we left the ground, we couldn't get level, but we made the silo tubes all level, and that's kind of the plan with this.
All right.
Put them down, and make them all so it's level, so we really don't have to even mess with the grass or nothing. We'll just leave that alone.
So what kind of grade is there, Bob? Is
I think it's about 10 to 12% slope. Yeah,
Where they're gonna put the mobile home?
yeah, at the steepest, but.
Okay.
And when the Mr. Crown was doing spots as far as to find the sewer, just a ways over, he found hard rock shale, wasn't it? Way over towards the driveway part.
Yeah. no.
Yeah, and it's only down, what, 2 feet, 3 feet? It was solid shale rock.
Is there an existing driveway?
Yeah, yeah. It'll actually be about 30 feet from the driveway, yeah.
Okay, ma'am, you spoke, or you guys want to speak? Yeah, you stand up and state your name.
I'm Peggy Jamboys, and this is my husband, Brad Jamboys.
Okay,
We actually share the same driveway. I personally lived there all since I've been 18. And again, that was my grandfather that owned that farm down there. We have a problem though. Right now, we maintain the road, the driveway from the highway up to his fence line where he enters and of course goes down into the farm. And by that, I mean, we provide the gravel and that. And the water breaks we have to put in because we're having an issue with, the sand. Back in '07, when we all hit hard with that flood, we had to lay breaker rock back down from the fence down to the driveway where our cement is, and then again down just kind of the incline where you go down the driveway to the end of the highway, plus then of course gravel the whole thing. My uncle Herman Gady He's never put any rock from the driveway on back. And we are like really worried and concerned that if they can't maintain that driveway by placing a house and detouring the water runnage, is not only gonna affect our driveway, but it's also gonna affect our property, of course, coming down the hill. Because we kind of have a slope in the backyard. So we're opposed to this. And we don't want any more neighbors. I mean, we live out in the country and it's agricultural. We want to keep it that way.
Okay, well, erosion is an issue that we can talk about.
Yeah, because when we get to the top of where our driveway is, then it's all sand from there on. We have gravel down, but everything else is all sand, and it just keeps washing.
That's not a township road.
No, it's not. Because I had Terry Botcher out when this all began, and he said, I'm sorry, Heidi, but I can't help you because we don't maintain this road. He says I'd have to talk to him. So.
Is it a private road, where is there easements, or
Yes, there's easements.
right-of-ways, or?
It's, I checked into that. He has easement because he has to, and it's the way it was set up when Delbert Sensville lived there, so it hasn't changed. So I have no say to say, you know, he can or can't, or she can or can't. But I have the concerns where I own property, or we, own property on both sides of that driveway. And it's just, it means that's more traffic. I'm not saying nobody can't have company and so forth and all this kind of stuff, but I just really don't want to see any more.
No, but your main concern is erosion coming down off the property or something? You
Yes.
can't, yeah.
Yes.
Well, can't, what do you got to say about that?
I don't understand what she's talking about, to be honest with you. I do know we need gravel. I know that because the floods, we've had 2 of them. And pretty much, yeah, our road rock is pretty much gone. And I guess I would have had rock on there, but I just went through a pretty big financial loss here with our house burning and stuff, so it didn't happen.
Can I add something to this, please?
Go ahead.
He's been living there for better than 8 years. So within 8 years, you can't lay 1 drop of gravel.
How does that affect your property, that he doesn't have gravel on his road?
You should see how it washes if we didn't put these water breaks in. And there used to be water breaks, and I can say this because I used to go down with grandpa's and clean his house and stuff like that when I was little. He'd even have water breaks up when you gotta come up, you said you were out there, right, Bob?
Mhm.
That incline you gotta go up with that oak tree there, they would put water breaks in at least a couple more times there too, because when that runoff comes off both sides of the pasture there, it causes force. They've never been, ever been replaced since even back in '07.
So it comes right down the driveway?
Oh, it does, and you should see how wide that is of sand up there. So, my dad, he's kind enough to bring the Bobcat over, and every time they get blown out and you get the, we call them craters in the driveway, he'll come over and I keep a gravel pile right next to the shed down below, and he fills them in and smooths them out and puts the water breaks back in. And then, he's got one up by the fence, and then right there across the driveway, we've got another one because the water runnage goes down what we call the dike, where the 2 hay fields are. And then we have another one just before you gotta go down the hill, because then when the water gets to that water break, it actually goes over the hill through the pine trees. So I mean, that's 3 of them.
Can you do anything to control the water going onto their property? Going up there?
Well, if I probably put some breaker rock and some gravel in there.
I'm just curious why you're picking this area over in here, not over by your other area?
Well, because it's a nice open spot. They'd have, in fact, that's really where me and the wife wanted to put a house. But the situation just never worked out for us to do it.
But if this is your daughter, not you and your wife.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know this is, again, you know this is temporary, very temporary.
Yeah, yeah, I know that, yeah.
You-
I don't know if you're
Okay, you have anything else to?
Mostly the road.
Sand Hill, I know what it is.
And like I said, I'm just worried about, I have a family too, and I still have children at home, and I worry, you know, with traffic going up and down, you know. Like I said, it's quiet out where we are.
Yeah, well, we have the ordinance where we do allow this if it's a hardship case, if it needs help. If you need help on the farm, that is covered in our ordinances, and that's what he's applying under. So if he meets the criteria, now, if you got an erosion problem with your neighbor, that's something you guys gotta have to work out.
That's really.
Probably not a lot we can do about that. That's something you guys gotta work out between you.
I am a veteran too, and I did serve my time for the country, which a lot of these people, fortunately, didn't have to.
Okay, but if you got water running onto their driveway, you gotta deal with that, I
Right,
think,
right,
yeah.
and I can
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that, yes, yes.
Okay, you guys talking here, any comments? Yeah, you want comments?
I just wanted to ask, if you moved the manufactured home closer to your house, would it be possible to share a well? And since it, I mean, this
Yep,
thing
yep.
will have to
Yep.
go at some point.
In fact, Tim hasn't come out yet, but he redid the well after our fire. And I ran into him at Menards about 2 weeks ago. And I'd asked him about that, because he knows all about our water system, and I mean, he hooked everything up. And I told him, I said, I'd like to have him come, because he asked about that, if that wouldn't make sense. And I said, I guess, to be honest with you people, I didn't want to step on no toes. And I told him, you know, if things go okay at the meeting, then I'd like to have him come out. Otherwise, everything's on hold for right now. But he'd mentioned that, to go ahead and just dig it in. He said, we do a lot of it, all you need is one extra push pump and we can take care of it.
So is there anyone else here who wishes to speak to this application? Go ahead, sir. You come forward and state your name and, or so we get your name and,
Vernon Austrian, which is brother-in-law.
okay.
What I gotta say is what my mother-in-law told me last night. Now, she's 86, 87 years old. And this all bears back when Grandpa died. When she inherited the farm, she willed it to Butch because he needed a place to live in. And according, I wasn't there at the will reading or the will was made out, but this is what she's told me. As the will was stated, it's a living will, what they call, I guess, what Hamel called it. Butch lives there till the day he passes, then it reverts to my son. That's the way it was set up. But in the meantime, Butch has got the full use of the farm as far as taking care of it, taking care of the buildings, taxes, and doing, you know, the general farming of the land or whatever you want to call it. But I guess what she was telling me last night, that it wasn't written in the will, but it was verbal between Butch, Joe, and her, and I can't remember who else was all there. But there was be no digging, you know, ripping up the place. So this is what she told me last night, and I was supposed to. She asked me, "Does come with us?" And I told her. She told me to say exactly that, and that's all I got to say on that. I mean, that's just what she had told me. And that was all supposed to, it's not in writing, except for the living part of what they had written in the will, whichever what that is. But most of it was just verbal on the table at the time. So I mean, that's it.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this application? Okay, go ahead, sir.
My name is Larry Burrows. I'm a neighbor within one. Almost sounds to me like we're talking about a separate building site on undivided property. You know, is there any, you know, any restrictions or anything, any guidelines that this has to follow? And then also, discussing the, you know, the runoff on that driveway. You know, it's almost, there again, sounding to me like we're talking about 3 building sites up one narrow driveway that does have erosion problems. I mean, I drive by twice a day to see it. And with that, if we have 3 building sites on one narrow driveway, as a taxpayer, are we in the, you know, fast forward a little bit, are we gonna be asked to put in township road, you know, that the taxpayers all have to absorb and maintain and plow? I think that's a concern, like, you know, where are we going with this in the future? That's my.
To answer your question on the road, anytime there, and this is under the E911 addressing ordinance for the county, if there are 3 homes on a road, it's a private lane, and it might be named as a lane eventually, if this is approved and there's a house there. It will have its own address, of course, because it's a separate house, if it's approved. Your question on the house there, the ordinance does allow an additional house for a farm that's actively farming, and the person living in this manufactured home is helping out on the farm, and it's a temporary farm dwelling is what it's called, and it's only for that farmer and that person that's helping out on the farm. If the farming operation ceases to exist, or the property sells or goes to Brad Osher, like I understand, then that trailer or that manufactured home is removed from the site within 6 months. It's a temporary permit, if it's approved.
Are you farming your own land, or are you renting it out?
I farm it.
You got your own machinery and you do your own farming, and
Yeah,
so you're expecting to get help from,
yeah,
you got cows and stuff?
yeah, it's 34 Black Angus. There's 16 calves running there.
Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak to this? Okay, a couple more. Go ahead, the red hat there.
My name is Tony Miller. I live to the south of Gades.
Tony, what?
Miller.
Okay.
And just for the record, I got nothing against the Gades or people that want to move out to the country. But I think Heidi said it best, it's kind of a quiet area. I don't want to see the countryside littered with trailer homes. I would rather see Herman sell them 40 or 80 acres and tell them to build a permanent house. I'd rather see that route. I know the Gades house burned last year, and I watched them rebuild. They had a hell of a year, there's no doubt about that. But now going forward, things to get back to normal, does he need help with the farm? I know it's a farm, but I don't think he plants corn. I don't see it's just baling hay and feeding cattle. Is it a huge enough farm operation that you need to have a hired hand or additional help? I think that needs to be addressed here. Where's the cutoff line where you can justify having another house on your property for farm help? I build 25 acres of hay. Do I get a permit to have farm help? Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, it's written as a hardship,
But the hardship's gonna be, is it hardship over now is what I'm asking.
Okay.
I see their house is almost rebuilt, they're gonna be living in it. Is it still considered hardship, or should it just get back to life as normal, where he'll have more time to dedicate to his farm? I don't doubt he works hard back there, but, it almost seems to me as this is just a means to have his daughter move out in the country, which I can appreciate, but it's gotta be done within the law, I think this is just a way to skirt around it. But, to go out there and drill a well and put in a septic, Herman could be off the farm next year for some reason, and they're gonna be out all that money. I just can't see the purpose of it, I guess, But that's just all I got to say about it.
Sir?
Yeah, I'm Steve Mitchell, my land borders gate. The point I'm getting here is, that's like myself. I've got a son and he's got a girlfriend. And what if I want to pull a trailer on my land? And I can say, well, he helps me cut wood, because I have to cut wood. I burn wood. So what's the distinction here? Where's the line drawn that says he's a farmer and I'm not? What I'm getting at is you're opening a can of worms here that other people might say, well, geez, I got people in front of me, they've got 29 acres, and what if they start saying, well, geez, we're gonna farm this, but we need help, so we're gonna put a mobile home down there too. And is Mr. Gady gonna put 20,000 into a well? And then is his septic system gonna be a mound system, which costs $10,000? I guess he should invest that first and then go from there, if that's gonna be it. But I'm opposed to the whole thing in the first place. It's no different than if I come to you and say, well, my son and his girlfriend wanna live in my property now, so I can pull in a mobile home and hook up too. What's the difference? My back hurts, so I need help here because my primary source of heat is burning wood.
What's
So I have my son help me.
You guys the ordinance.
What I'm getting at here is
Filing tax.
the law really razor edgers are a lot of margin there.
Well, it's strictly agriculture. It's gotta be, if you're cutting wood, you're not gonna get help. But if you're farming, yeah, it's covered in the ordinance.
But you understand where I'm
Yeah,
coming from?
yeah. But if you're farming, this is in the ordinance.
Yeah, okay, but
Yeah.
is he gonna invest
You know-
10,000 in a mound system? He said
Well,
that.
that's his priority. I mean, if he's done next year, he's out the money.
It's an in-ground system.
See, this is not,
Trench system.
this is a interim use permit. It goes to his name only. And it's only gonna be as good as he's on the property or out of farming, if we approve it. And then that manufactured home has to be taken down, removed,
Okay.
taken out of there. And
Then you gotta cap the well, so the well doesn't
They're
pay
go-
everybody else's well?
if that's what they have to do, they're gonna have to comply with the ordinances to do it, yeah.
But is that enforced?
There's
Who
no requirement
enforces
to
it?
cap a well that's functioning properly. No requirement for that.
Well, I'm opposed to it, so.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Anyone else wish to comment on this? Claire?
Hi, I think about all we'll accomplish here is making people, it'll be a mess. They're gonna congest people too tight together. It isn't gonna work very well. The location, I don't know where it is. It's not, should have been further east or down by the original buildings. So that, it's just another urban sprawl.
You are opposed to putting it over near your buildings rather than out here on this road?
Well, this is a nice spot for it, it really is.
Even though it's temporary,
Right, yeah,
and it's gonna have to come out of there.
yeah,
You realize that,
yeah.
if approved. Anyone else want to make a comment on this? I can understand, we're hearing, that there's a lot of people that don't want this, but we don't see it as urban sprawl. The ordinance is here that allows for this. Now, there may be things going on here that we're not aware of, but all we're looking at are the fact, is he farming?
Yeah.
Is this a relative that's coming in here? Is this his daughter that's coming in here?
No, it's right there, yes.
And you're gonna help on the farm?
Her
And you need their
fiancé.
help?
He done most of the fencing this summer, 'cause I can't hardly crawl the hills no more. And we got a lot of woods fences, a lot of them. He just helped me sort cattle yesterday.
Now, it sounds like you've got issues with your neighbors.
Oh, yeah, we're relatives, most of them.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you could work some things out with them to kind of ease the tensions here.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Go ahead, sir.
If I can, Dan Strong. Been out here helping last year and a half, helping rebuild. It's kind of what I do. I fix things, and I keep on fixing things and that. There's issues with the driveway. You guys need a hand? I can be there for that. It's not an issue. I think the one thing that we're all kind of missing here is, seems everybody's upset that this is we're not making a trailer park. It's a temporary setting. Well, you ain't getting any younger, you can't go up and down and keep going. He's got me by years. I've got plenty of go, and he wanted to help with the farm. If that means help the neighbors, let me know. I'll give you my number. This is what I'm, I guess, put here for, is to help. So, I'm helping Butch. I can help Heidi and, anybody else. I helped Vernon chasing cattle last year. So, it's a temporary fix. We know it's only temporary. We're not looking for homestead. We're looking for, this is what family does, they take care of themselves. Thank you.
Any other comment? Rick?
Just one more thing. So Herman, you have the easement, right? In that easement, does it stipulate that you're responsible for any part of that road, or just that you get to use it?
Well, I don't know how it really goes, because the farm has been there since 1850s. And Heidi and her husband, well, Heidi got the land from her and her ex-husband actually got the land from Grandpa Delbert. And I don't know how the original road went back to the homestead for all them years. And she put her house between the main road and the homestead, so I don't know who's supposed to be whose, or who's supposed to take care of what, really.
If this driveway is the issue of maintaining it, is there a way that we could add a stipulation that they split it, or, Jerry, you're shaking your head. Nope.
It's a private drive.
That's a private drive. And
Okay.
if there's written easements or, legal stuff, then it's.
I don't know that would.
Yeah, I understand where you're going.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm Bobby Osterley, Butch's sister. When Heidi got that land from Grandpa Del, where the gate is situated in the driveway, Grandpa said, Heidi, you're not gonna like this, but you're going to be liable for the driveway from the gate down to the highway. And like she said, it's no more than right. And he said, from the gate down to the buildings will always be my responsibility, because that's the cutoff of the land is the gate. So she's liable from the gate down to County 21, and then from the gate back to the buildings is where the land separation is, and then that would be on his. She's to take care of her own end.
Sounds like she is. Go ahead.
If this were really thought up to be temporary, why isn't it back down at the original building site? We're not talking about a separate building site with a separate well and a separate septic system. Wouldn't that, if it's temporary, truly thought it to be temporary, I would certainly think this would be at the original building site.
No matter where the structure is going to be in that, it's going to have its own septic system. It will not be co-joined. That's just the way it's done. So it's going to have a septic system on its own, no matter where it stands.
Is there any requirement that it be within the 2 or 3 acres? I don't know. Just that it's on the same premises.
This guy's here to do.
I'm sorry.
Why can't we come to a compromise, like Larry was saying, move the temporary house, the old house, and share the well? And you can have a temporary sewage system. That would alleviate some of the problem, I think. I mean, right now, we're kind of like going nowhere here. You got half the people for and the other half against.
What is a well, what's the problem with putting a well in? What's the big deal about putting in a well?
Not temporary, a well isn't temporary.
Well, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares if it's not temporary? The home is temporary. When he's not there, it's gone.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Bob even said you don't have to tap off a well that's not damaged.
I'm not talking about the well. I'm talking about the home. If it's a functional well, it can stay there. What's it gonna hurt?
It could, or what if it gets contaminated, nobody's up there to check on it.
Whatever.
But anyway, you well, you can look. You haven't decided if you're going to dig a well or if you're going to try to tie into your.
It's gonna depend on the financial part of it, yes.
But you have decided on this spot.
Yeah, yeah, we've had all the sewer system and that all checked, and, yeah, that's all laid up, yes. And, pretty much got numbers from Tri-County as far as putting in the electric pole and stuff, and it all kind of makes sense.
Okay, well, up here, we have to go with the county ordinance, so you guys have to make a decision how this fits in within our interim use permits and our county ordinance. We obviously have an ordinance for this, so With that said, Bob, do you want to read the findings? If there's no additional comment by anyone?
I got a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I still think we haven't decided, you know, and I got, no offense against you folks, know that you're hardworking people, you help the Gadies, all that's great, but what constitutes a farm?
A farm?
What's the, I mean, is there a definition in the Houston County what a farm is?
Yes, there is.
I spaced 25 acres of hay. Am I a farm? I'd like to consider myself a farm, but I don't think I am. I'm just a guy that makes some hay. But am I a farm? And if so, under this ruling, I would be eligible to have a mobile home on my property. I mean, is it like 10 cows, you're a farmer? 250 acres, you're a farmer? I'd like to know what the definition is.
In Houston County, a farm is 40 acres.
Okay.
For federal income tax purposes, it's that you are producing an ag commodity and you file Schedule F with your 1099. If you meet that criteria, you're actively farming. And if that farmer decides that they need extra help, it's their, they can go ahead and apply for this temporary farm dwelling. That's the only thing we look at. We don't look at how much ag commodity they're producing per year. We don't, there's no minimum thresholds like that they produce so many head of cattle or so many bushels of corn. It's that they're producing an agricultural commodity. That's it.
On 40 acres or more?
On 40 or more, yep.
Okay, Bob, you want to read the findings?
Planning Commission shall not recommend an interim use permit unless they find the following. 1, does the proposed use conform to the county land use plan? 2, does the applicant demonstrate a need for the proposed use? 3, will the proposed use degrade the water quality of the county? 4, will the proposed use adversely increase the quantity of water runoff? 5, are soil conditions adequate to accommodate the proposed use? 6, have potential pollution hazards been addressed and have standards been met? 7, are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities being provided? 8, are adequate measures being taken to provide sufficient off-street parking and loading space to serve the proposed use? 9, are facilities being provided to eliminate any traffic congestion or traffic hazard which may result from the proposed use? 10, will the interim use be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for purposes already permitted? 11, does the establishment of the interim use impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for predominant uses in the area? 12, are adequate measures being taken to prevent and control offensive odor, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration so that none of these will constitute a nuisance, and control lighted signs and other lights in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result? 13, is the density of the proposed residential development greater than the density of the surrounding neighborhood or greater than the density indicated by the applicable zoning district? 14 is not applicable. 15, are site-specific conditions and such other conditions established as required for the protection of the public's health, safety, morals, and general welfare?
Do I have any questions on the findings, comments?
Does number 7 pertain to it?
Yeah.
Is that,
Number 7?
access roads and drainage being, are they adequate? With what we've heard tonight?
The drainage, yeah, the drainage. I mean, just like a house, will there be a erosion plan?
Yeah.
Or-
Yeah.
They'll be required to submit one of them.
You realize that? Through NRCS?
Yeah, Soil and Water District will review that plan, make sure those provisions are met.
Before the mobile home can be moved on that?
But looking at all the other findings, there is nothing that you can put your finger on that you can deny the application. The only question is number 7, but you said that can be addressed, Bob?
Yeah, through the erosion plan, I would think.
So that'll be a stipulation through the intern.
You're talking for where the house is or the road or what?
I guess we're talking access road.
Well, the road is there.
Right.
The drainage problem on the road.
Wherever this house gets put, there's gonna have to be a plan, water plan. that's typical of any house that's, or whatever's done. Driveways, you know, that are not private and that are access to townships and that's all goes in the plans.
Okay, any other comments on the findings? Okay, if not, I'd entertain a motion one way or another to approve or deny. Or to table, approve, deny, or table, if you want to go look at it.
I'll make a motion to approve this interim permit with all the state and local permits involved. I recommend that, you know, the road, you guys get that thing, work together on that.
I don't think you can make a motion.
I can't
to
make
work
that a
together,
stipulation,
can you?
but I think it should be done.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Now, you realize this is a temporary permit given in your name. And when you, the other condition that's on here, of course, is that when you stop farming, or you move off that property, this manufactured home goes with you.
Yeah.
And it's strictly in your name. It does not go with the land. It only goes to you, and it goes when you leave, it leaves. All right, we have a motion made and seconded, and there's going to have to be a soil erosion plan filed with the Soil Conservation or the NRCS
So water, yep.
regarding the siting of this manufactured home.
Can Bob help me with that,
Yeah,
as far
sure
as who I need to get in contact with and
Yeah.
stuff?
It's part of your process.
Yeah, so that's gonna have to be those of you with erosion control issues. There's gonna have to be a plan for this siting of this manufactured house. And it's gotta be approved by the NRCS, their Soil Conservation District.
Okay, sure.
All right, we have a motion made and seconded to approve this application. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, that'll go to county board December 2nd for final.
Pardon?
Approval. December 2nd, it'll go to the county board for final approval.
Okay.
This is their recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.